Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lanisha Tab, and I love to help educators, primary educators mostly, but I dabble K through 5. I love to help teachers feel confident and empowered to teach writing. And so if you are here, it is because you are also looking for a little writing help. And this channel is a Q&A format. And so I take questions that I get from all over and I turn them into videos with answers and strategies and ideas for writing. So today's question is, help. What do I do when I assign a writing prompt and my students simply won't write much? If I'm lucky, I can get a sentence out. How do I get them to write more? How do I get them to actually give me something when I give a writing prompt assignment? So if that sounds familiar, if that's you, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, come right back, and we're going to get right into it. So if you are new here, then you should know that I am what I like to call a process first writing teacher. Everything I do goes through the writing process, from making my kids memorize the writing process with a chant, to running my entire workshop through the writing process. I physically sit my students in zones based on the writing process. I teach strategies and acronyms for writing based on the writing process. Everything I do. I collect data through the writing process. Everything I do is process based, because it gives students this amazing big picture conceptual understanding of writing, and then everything else that comes when it's time to teach writing can fit neatly in one of the steps of the writing process. And it just clears up so much confusion for writers that experience writing anxiety because they simply do not know what to do. Imagine being a child who, you're still learning, these skills are growing slowly but surely, and you're given a writing prompt. Write about your favorite summer day. Write about what you did over winter break. I watched TV. I played with my toys. That's it. And how do we get them to really figure out how to structure their writing and stretch it out to, really be engaging? There are some things that we can do. A lot of them are conceptual. A lot of them involve more of a framework, but here's the deal. It works, and it's better than what a lot of students are getting these days, which is nothing. So let's get into some strategies. Number one, they do have to know the writing process, but they also have to learn how to be flexible within the writing process. What do I mean by that? So in my classroom, even in kindergarten, I could walk up to any child at any point and say, tell me the writing process. And because we learned to chant, and if you're like, she keeps talking about that chant, always check my description box. I have blog posts linked in there where you can hear the chant. You can see a really comprehensive view of exactly how my writing block runs, and all the resources that I refer to, you'll get them down there. So be sure to check that out. So not only do they know the chant and they can say it, but we operate within that writing process. But that is typically longer term. It's usually projects that take some time, writing pieces that are not going to be done in one setting. And so you might have students in my classroom that spend one day picking an idea, then maybe the next day they plan out their writing. Maybe the third step, write. Maybe that takes them 3 or 4 writing sessions before they get their rough draft out. Then they spend a day or 2 revising. And so they're working sort of at their own pace, and the writing process is wide, okay? Then you sit them down and you give them a single writing assignment, and it's like, well, what do we do? I'm not used to this. So you have to teach them how to be flexible within the writing process. So that it might be multiple weeks and you're producing multiple pieces of writing, and that's fine. But there are other times where you're going to sit down and you are going to go through the entire writing process in one fell swoop. And so you teach them how to do that. So one way that I love to do that is I give my students monthly writing prompts. This is what they look like. So you can see, typically I only provide first things first, pick an idea, and I'll tell them what the idea is. After that, it's kind of on them to figure out how they want to organize their writing, what they want to include. I do provide some vocabulary words there, but this is just a great way for them to kind of go through the entire writing process in one sitting, because they need to know. So if you have students that understand, writing is really 6 steps. It's pick an idea, make a plan, get a rough draft, figure out how to make it better, fix my mistakes, and then I'm ready to publish. If they understand that, then they can do it longer term, or they can sit down and get through it start to finish, but they will need practice and guidance along the way. So giving them a writing prompt and telling them like, okay, go for it, good luck, is really powerful. So that's the first thing. They have to know how to work within the writing process. The next part is so important. It's so critical that students understand writing structure. It is. Even in kindergarten, okay? So when I say writing structure, in kindergarten and first, I focus on the main three that you find in most standards, whether it's Common Core or even if you teach somewhere that didn't adopt Common Core like I do, I'm in Indiana, it's typically informative, narrative, and persuasive. Like those are the three that most children will encounter and be expected to be a proficient writer. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm process first and everything I do goes through the writing process, where do we teach structure? For me, that's plan it out. Second step, plan it out. So when we are planning out our writing, we need to make a plan for how we are going to organize this. So I would teach them structure through pictures. Okay, so basically, I'll put some examples up here. So even starting in kindergarten, I would tell my students, if we're going to write a story, what do stories have? And I would show them this picture. There's no words on it on purpose because I want this to be visual because they're 5. And so I would say, if we're telling a story, stories always have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now you'll notice with all of the posters that I'm about to share with you, there's always a bar at the top that says opening, and there's a person like, be ready to talk. And then there's a person taking a bow, because at the bottom, we always close. So no matter what the writing is, we're going to open the writing and we're going to close the writing. And that might look different for different genres, but the point is we always open our writing and we always close our writing. And then that picture in the middle changes. And so if you look here, you'll see that there's 3 boxes. There's 3 rectangles. One has a picture with a dot at the beginning, a dot in the middle, and a dot at the end, because I want them to know if it's story time. I don't care if it's personal narrative. I don't care if it's a make-believe story, whatever it is. If it is a narrative story, we need a beginning, we need a middle, and we need an end. And that's how we're going to organize our writing. That's how we're going to think about our writing. We're going to open it up, beginning, middle, end. We're going to close it. Let's move on. Persuasive writing. They know if we are trying to persuade somebody, then that means we're trying to get somebody to think or do or take a particular course of action. And so there's one thing that we want. They know that this is the one thing we want. So you see there's a circle at the bottom. That's the thing we want. Then what do we see? We see boxes on the top, and there are arrows pointing to the thing, because they know if we're going to do persuasive writing, we're going to be trying to come up with really strong reasons and examples that would get somebody else to agree with us. So those arrows are all pointing to why we want that thing. All right. So and then again, we open it, we persuade, we close it. Okay. Last one we'll talk about here. Informational writing. This one is quite simple. It's like a web map. The topic goes in the middle, and then I tell my kids that we're going to fill up as many of those bubbles around the topic as we can with information about that topic. That's it. It got to the point where I could even play a game with my students. I would have them come over, they would have a whiteboard, they would have a marker. And because we would talk about structure all the time, whatever genre we were studying, I'm pulling these posters out, I'm reminding them, we're using this as a graphic organizer when it's time to actually write. And so I could literally sit down and they would have a whiteboard and marker, and I'd play a little game, and I might say, guess my structure. I want to write today, and I think I'm going to write a story. And in my story, and I would start just making something up on the fly. I would tell my kids, as soon as you know the structure, draw the picture. And they would literally listen. And the moment they realized it was a story, I would hear kids go, and they'd unclick their little marker, and they would be doing what? They would draw that bar across the top, because we have to open our writing. They would draw 3 rectangles in the middle, and they would write BME for beginning, middle, end, and then they would draw a rectangle at the bottom, because they knew that they had to close their writing. Or I would say, I think I'm going to write a letter. And in this letter, I'm going to tell this principal that we need a new set of balls for recess. We need new kickballs. We need new soccer balls. We need new baseball. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to come up with some good reasons. I'm going to say, you know what? If you buy us more balls, we're going to get good exercise. And if you buy us more balls, and I'm going to literally, and as I'm talking, the kids are listening. And the moment they know, it's persuasive, opening, Then they would draw a circle at the bottom. They would draw some, squares at the top, and then they would draw arrows pointing, and they would hold it up. And they'd be like, Mrs. Tab, it's persuasive, it's persuasive. It's so much fun. I thought that honestly, that was one of my proudest teaching moments. I'm just like, this is good. I'm like, I have 5 and 6-year-olds that can listen to a plan for writing and immediately know what the structure is, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened because I was very explicit about showing them the structure of writing when we are jumping into a genre. I was very explicit about their planning sheets also mirroring that structure. I'm always talking about the structure and using pictures and giving examples. I'm modeling this all the time. And I mean, I can remember sitting back and being like, this is good. Like, I'm proud. These kids are with it. And it's going to carry them so far in life. I also have them keep track of writing structures in their student writing folders. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I will reference this folder quite a bit. But for this video, we'll focus on the fact that this entire writing folder goes with the writing process. You can see first things first, pick an idea. Second step, plan it out. What do you see? You see those structures because I'm constantly referring to them. Now, if we're thinking about students that get a writing prompt, okay, and now if they know they can draw pictures to show writing structure, they understand conceptually that different kinds of writing can be organized in different ways, think about the power they're going to have now when the teacher hands them a paper and it says, write about what you did over summer break. They can think like, okay, this is probably going to be more narrative. So I'm going to tell this in a story, and it's going to be, what happened at the beginning and the middle and the end. And they can start to make a plan. Okay, I need to open this up. I remember some strategies for how to open up narrative writing. I can tell what happened at the beginning, tell what happened in the middle. I'm going to use some transition words, right? And these are all things that over time, they start to grow that muscle because they have been taught and they have been exposed to this over and over and over, and it really does work. The writing prompt, you might be in the middle of a unit on outer space and you are thinking like, I want my kids to write about what they're learning about outer space. So you may come up with a writing prompt that says, we've been learning all about the different planets, identify your favorite planet and give 3 facts that whatever it is. So what are students going to do now? They're going to think, oh, this is information. I'm going to put the planet in the middle and I'm going to see how many different facts and examples of what I know I can put into that writing. Okay. And I know I have to open up my writing and I know I have to close my writing. And now I have the piece in the middle. Give them the tools they need to really execute a writing prompt and they will do it. I've seen it. It works. It takes time. It is not going to happen overnight. I always say this in my videos because I really feel like people hear these stories and they're just like, oh, well, that works for her class, but that couldn't work for my class. Yes, it can. Trust me, I've taught in every kind of school that there is to teach in. And as long as you keep your expectations high and you give them the scaffolds they need in order to reach that goal, you will get there. I spend months frustrated, ready to pull my hair out. But then one day, it clicks because I stay the course. So you can do it too. Like, I don't have any magic. I just have expectations and I expect them to get there. And I'm going to keep helping them until they do. And I will say 98% of my students usually arrive where they need to get to because they have the opportunity. So hopefully that sort of makes sense, like really focusing in on making sure kids know the writing process, they can be flexible with the writing process. And then once they have that down, really understanding text structure is going to serve them very, very well when it comes to a writing prompt that needs to be executed. They will be able to push past just that one sentence because they will know writing is not just one sentence. I was asked a question. I need to structure this thing. Give me a blank sheet of paper. I don't need her graphic organizer. I can do my own graphic organizer because I understand writing structure. So even in kindergarten, that is something that could be so powerful. Give it a try. If you have any questions that you would like to see in a future video, as always, leave them in the comments below. Again, as always, everything you've seen in this video is a part of my Reimagined Writing program. It's a one-stop shop, one-time purchase. If you're like, I gotta have all these things, Check it out. The link is in my description box below. We would love to have you over at Reimagine Writing. If you are looking for individual components, not everything that I offer is available for individual purchase. There are a lot of things that are just exclusive to Reimagine Writing, but we do offer quite a few resources on our website or Teachers Pay Teachers store if you would like to check that out as well. We put out new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday, so please make sure you tune in. If you didn't subscribe, you know what to do. Hit the bell so you don't miss any videos, and I'll see you in the next one.